Hi everyone. Hi Ritu, Rashmi, Dr. Ankita. Thank you for all joining in. I'm just waiting for a couple of minutes for Dr. Apurva to join in. So, Dr. Apurva Pallam Reddy, a gynecologist from Bangalore, and I have started this new initiative wherein we've started this series called What Every Woman Wants to Know. And in this, we will be covering various aspects of women's health, starting from adolescence right up to menopause and beyond. And today is first of the series wherein we're going to be talking about menstrual health and everything that is. Hi,
Hello, Dr.
hello.
Rajiv.
Hi, Dr. Purva.
Yes,
I was just telling, thank you for being here together. And I was just telling everyone that
yes,
you and I have started this whole thing together, which we are calling What Every Woman Wants to Know. And the whole idea is
yes.
to talk about all women's issues, health issues, right from adolescence going up to menopause. And between you and me, the first session that we're doing today is going to be about menstrual health and hygiene.
Absolutely. Completely. I
Dr.
mean, I
Apurva,
know
I'm
you have
getting a lot
given
of
me the
background
credit.
noise. Are you
One
getting?
second.
Okay. Okay. No, it's okay. Probably I'm the only one getting it.
Okay. So I was saying that I know you've given
So,
me credit for this, but yeah, I mean, everybody should know that this is your brainchild and, you wanted to bring in two gynecologists together and, have the clash.
so for those who don't know, Dr. Apurva Pallam Reddy is a very good gynecologist, aesthetic gynecologist, infertility specialist, laparoscopic surgeon from Bangalore. She's young, but she's already at this age already a teacher because she teaches other doctors ways and means of treating infertility, laparoscopic surgery, aesthetic gynecology, and stuff like that. So she's quite celebrated and academic in her position. So
Thank you, Rajiv. I have to stop you there now. And for my followers who have joined in the session today, Dr. Rajiv is actually my mentor, and I've seeked a lot of inspiration on how to manage patients and how not to manage them from him. And he is a celebrity gynecologist from Calcutta. So yeah, I think we should dive into the
yeah,
session
without
today.
much, yes, absolutely. So we'll do for all our viewers, we'll do a rapid fire session in the beginning. There's a lot of questions which have come in, a lot of things which we need to discuss. So we'll get into this one by one. Dr. Apurva, would you like to take the first question?
Yeah, I think before even we go ahead and start the session, this is something we need to understand what happens and why menstruation happens. It's actually not cleansing of the body. See, every month women have to ovulate physiologically in order to make sure that they are fertile and their body is getting them ready or the womb is getting ready to host a child and get pregnant. And at the end of the month, in case if pregnancy doesn't happen and fertilization doesn't happen, this uterus lining, which was formed, sheds out, and the uterus starts to build up new lining all over again in the next month. So the bleeding that we see is simply the uterine lining shedding month on month, and nothing more than that. It's not the bad blood that's kind of coming out. So yeah, now that we know what menstruation is, to kind of understand what is the age, I think we have a question here that 13-year-old daughter and she's still not started her periods. Anything to worry?
See, nowadays, Apurva, most girls, even start menstruating by the age of 9. And that is
Sure.
not really early. That is normal for a lot of girls now. And a lot of girls do start menstruating late. So at 13, if a girl is not menstruating, what we need to understand or look out for is have the secondary sexual characters develop. What we mean by secondary sexual characters is the breast, the pubic hair, and the axillary hair. If those have developed, the parents don't have to worry. They can as well wait for a couple of years. Even by 15 or 16 age, if the menstruation starts, it's absolutely all right.
However, if by age 13 or 14, the secondary sexual characters have also not developed, then probably the parents have to take the child to an endocrine specialist.
So I think it has come as a comparison these days, that in sixth standard itself, some of their friends have started menstruation. So the girls start getting too worried that by the end of ninth or 10th, if they don't have their periods, they start getting into that comparison. But as you rightly said, if you have secondary sexual characters, 13 is fine.
Absolutely. So the next question is, I started cycles 2 years ago, but they're still very irregular. So a young girl having started her periods about 2 years ago, periods are very irregular, and she wants to understand what to do.
The moment someone says irregular periods, forget about doctors. I think even mothers or, grandmothers, they start telling PCOS hoga. PCOS hi hoga karke. So it's crazy that people have that kind of information that irregularities in the periods is bad, and, that it could be some sort of hormonal variation. But sometimes this is overdone. We need to understand that the first couple of years when girls start having their menstrual periods, they are having an ovulatory cycles. As I said, if you are not ovulating, which is normal in the first couple of years, doesn't form, and that is the reason why they might take 1 or 2 months before they actually have regular cycles. Which is why the first 1 or 2 years after you start having periods, if your cycles are a little irregular, please don't get too worried. Having cycles at 1 or 2 months of interval is completely all right during this time.
It's actually ironical that, as you correctly said, at a younger age, we are overdiagnosing the problem, that everyone seems to be thinking it's a PCOS. And at an older age, we are underdiagnosing the problem. There are so many girls, women with PCOS, and somehow the diagnosis never happens till probably they have a miscarriage or something goes wrong. And then they get to understand that they have the problem actually.
Absolutely. So, if you're having, painful periods, I'm not sure if I should be asking you this question, but yeah, if periods are painful, and how do we kind of manage this? It's really traumatic.
Right. So I think first, before I even get on to how to manage painful periods, I would like to mention what would be painful periods. So I think everyone has a different pain threshold as to what is painful for them. So what might be painful for one woman may not be painful for the other woman. So any pain during periods which disrupts the normal life, a girl can't go to school, a woman can't go to college, or a woman doesn't manage to get out of bed those 1 or 2 days, that hampers her daily life. Then that is when we would say that the periods are painful. Now, the reasons for painful periods could be as simple as infection in the tummy around the uterus, the reproductive organs, the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, and stuff like that, which a gynecologist can very easily understand on examination. It can also be sometimes, very tight opening of the mouth of the womb, very difficult to diagnose, practically impossible to diagnose. And that is why, the mothers, grandmothers would say that once you have a baby, it is going to be all right. Probably the dilatation which happens during labor breaks certain fibers and something good happens and that pain disappears. But what we need to know importantly is painful periods can be a symptom of a disease called endometriosis. I think today would not be the right day to discuss endometriosis. We can probably keep it for another day. But it's a difficult situation where women have very painful periods, painful intercourse. It's a progressive disease and can cause a lot of problems. I think most importantly, one needs to make a diagnosis as to why the painful periods are occurring. Treatment becomes very simple after that. I'm sure there'll be some questions coming up regarding painful periods. Maybe if we have time, we can discuss the treatment at that point in time.
Sure. So I think, as you rightly said, some women might be having a little more prone, or they're just have a slightly higher tendency to experience pain more. And some on the other side might actually have a medical condition because of which the pain is happening. And, I want to take this moment to say, if you're having pain during your periods, it is not required for you to undergo through that pain. And it is absolutely all right for you to go ahead and take a painkiller and, relieve yourself out of that suffering. And you're not going to really achieve anything by putting yourself through that pain.
I know. In fact, you echo my thoughts exactly. Women are probably genetically built to take all that pain and pressure of family, children, and everything else, and they want to keep all their sufferings to themselves. And I keep telling patients, you're not going to achieve nirvana just because you've suffered all the pain during periods. So, as you said, go ahead and take a painkiller, speak to your
Sure.
gynecologist. They will give you some very safe, good medications. Next question is, I've had heavy bleeding with clots for the last 6 months. Should I visit a gynac?
So here I think we need to understand heavy bleeding and clots. Both of them are always mixed together. Why clotting happens is when we normally bleed into the uterus, when normally blood comes out, it generally is in a free form, and then it kind of starts to have certain free factors so that it flows out properly. Now, when you are having very heavy bleeding, these clotting factors that are required to make sure that the blood is in a fluid state is reduced. And because of this is why clots happen. So clotting can sometimes be equated to heavier flow. And sometimes women might just bleed more than 7 days per se, and that also can be equated to that. So in case if you're having any of these two parameters, yes, there is a possibility that there might be some underlying medical condition which is resulting this heavier flow for you. Heavy bleeding can be really traumatic because you tend to become anemic, and you start to have a lot of hair fall. Your attention span comes down. So if you are having heavier flow, then yes, definitely you should visit a gynae and understand why you are having this.
Sometimes these women also, need to change pads in the middle of the night. They have to get up, which I'm sure no woman, no matter how hygienic she feels, would probably get up in the night and change her pads. So that also probably would indicate to them that they need to see a gynecologist and that the periods are very heavy.
Sure. So we have this question wherein 35-year-old and her cycles used to be on a monthly affair before and now have reduced it to 21 days. Am I menopausal?
Well, honestly, we can't tell you if you're menopausal yet. It with age, and the answers are already there in the question itself. She's 35 years old. Periods used to be regular. Now they're shortening. Now with age, the number of and quality of eggs start to decrease. And as the number and quality of eggs start to decrease, the cycles also start to get shorter and shorter. And that also tells us that yes, there is a problem. However, between the cycle shortening and menopause happening, there could be a 6-month gap, there could be a 10-year gap. So it's very difficult to tell you based on just this one history that how much longer is it to menopause. Certain blood tests can help us, but again, there is no definitive answer because some women unfortunately can suffer like this with short cycles, long cycles, varied cycles, heavy and so on and so forth for almost 10 years before they finally achieve menopause.
So this perimenopausal transition, as what we would say, as you said, could last anywhere between 6 months to sometimes even 10 years also and cause that. I think one point I would want to add here is, of course, if you've already had babies and if you've had children before, this reduction in cycle might not be of too much of a significance for you. But if you are still young and you are seeking fertility, and if your cycle reduced from a regular 28-day to 21-day, then you should definitely be concerned and get into the fact that, your ovarian reserve is probably, ticking, and you should definitely see a doctor.
Right. So for everyone viewing, हमारी questions की लाइनें खुली हैं. So there is a question mark button there where you can post all your questions. We're still going to take all the questions at the end once we finish the general discussions. We've had some almost about 60, 70 questions come in. So we're still trying to finish all of them. Moving on to the next segment, we've been inundated with queries regarding the menstrual cups. So I thought it would be only right that we dedicate some time specifically for the menstrual cups. So, Apurva, are cups safe for college and school-going girls?
So, I want to take this in two aspects. I think when the person is asking me this question, I am presuming that, they are talking about one as virginity as a concern. That do women who have not had sexual intercourse, can they go ahead and use menstrual cup? And of course, the other segment wherein, young girls who are in school, can they go ahead and use a menstrual cup? So with respect to, I think, the virginity aspect of it, I can, make it very clear that even women who've not had sexual intercourse can use menstrual cups, and it is not going to really rupture or damage their hymen, and not going to really affect their virginity in any which way. Of course, they might have a little difficulty in insertion per se. When we are talking about school girls, I think it is more about educating them as compared to anything else. Right now, I think our kids are much more advanced with respect to understanding stuff than we are. So they know things much better than we are. So I don't think if we are able to convey them, and technically any girl who's had a menstruation is capable or fit medically to use a menstrual cup, and it's not going to affect her virginity in any which way.
But don't you think there's going to be a social stigma in our country regarding a girl? Which
is that is exactly the reason why I said medically. Medically there is absolutely no contraindication. We've had so many colleagues in our med school who who had come down from US, and who were already using tampons at that time. And for us, when we were in med school, to kind of have someone use tampons was a big deal. And now I time for a menstrual cup. So,
Dr. Before you ask me the next question, could you just in a very short because I'm sure most of the people who are listening wouldn't even know what a menstrual cup is all about. So if you could just give a gist of what it is. What is it?
So menstrual cup is a small silicone-based cup which is used to insert into the vaginal space, and it fits snugly into the cervix. So when we said that you have your menstrual flow or bleeding, it is coming from the uterus. Now cervix is actually the mouth of the uterus. Now imagine a tap. The cervix is actually the tap for the uterus, and that's how the blood is kind of flowing out. And you fit a cup around the opening of the tap so that the blood accumulates in that cup. You remove the cup every time you feel that it is filled with blood. You clean the blood and place it back up. I'll tell you, Rajiv, I think the first time I heard about the menstrual cup was from one of my friends. And I still remember till this day, I almost fell off my chair laughing when she told me how she has to insert it and how she has to remove it. And this was just 3 years back. And both of us are gynecologists, and I still couldn't wrap my head around the fact that, that's how you need to place it.
So I've been a gynecologist for the longest possible time now, and I had no idea whatsoever about the menstrual cup till you actually told me. And then I started discussing it with my patients. A lot of my patients have accepted the menstrual cup after that. In fact, I'm sorry for being chauvinistic in this, but in fact, even when I've put up this question saying we're going to be discussing the menstrual cup, and with a lot of my other patients, I've asked them, I thought Indian women would be like very EU, if I can use the term, about putting their fingers inside with all the blood and removing the cup and inserting the cup. Funnily, all of them came back and said, no, that wasn't really a problem at all. I mean, the initial difficulty was there about that pop and how exactly it fits in snugly. But once we got used to it, it went about beautifully. And in fact, one woman commented to say that I thought I bled gallons till I actually started using the menstrual cup, and then realized that we actually bleed so little.
Right. So yeah, I think now coming back to the question of why we are talking so much about menstrual cups, do you think that cups are actually safer than menstrual pads?
I really wouldn't bring it down to safety per se. Using pads, there is chafing of the sides. It's difficult to wear. The pads get soaked, and so on and so forth. So no woman really likes to wear the pad per se, which is why most women want to switch to the tampons. If there was something available which could be inserted inside, collected all the blood, she could go about with her normal life and activities, and whether it's going to the beach or all other kind of things. Obviously, it would be fantastic, and I think the menstrual cups provide just that against the pads. Not to mention that there are biodegradable ones, and they are now eco-friendly and stuff like that. So definitely makes more sense. Dr. Apurva, you have anything to add to that?
I think we're good. We have many more questions on cups, so I think I can give my inputs there.
So, do cups cause any irritation? Can you feel them? And I will add one more thing, a question which I got that can I get UTI if I am using cups? So, do they cause any irritation? Can you feel them? And does it cause UTI?
Absolutely not. So once you place the cup rightly, I mean, I have to mention this, once you place the cup rightly into the vaginal space, you technically will not be able to feel them and there is no sensation at all, because technically the cervical region does not have too many of innervations, which is the reason why you just have a suction effect, and beyond that, nothing else. So you will definitely not feel them. And, technically you can even have intercourse and, your partner also will not be able to feel the cup. So it's so simple, safe and effective. Again, we are placing the menstrual cup into the vaginal region and it is way away from the bladder. So it does not really trigger UTI, and in fact, it probably protects you from UTI, because all of us know that, when you're having heavier flow that way and you have to keep changing your pads, there is some amount of irritation that is happening between the urethral region and the pad per se. So in fact, during periods is when you have a higher chances of having UTI if you're using a pad, and which you can completely take away if we are using the menstrual cup per se.
Absolutely.
So I think this is a good question. If we are using menstrual cup for the first time, can we go ahead and try it by ourselves, or should I go to a gynae?
Well, I think I'm the best person to answer this because when we started, you and I started talking about the menstrual cup, there was no way for me to understand how to be going about using a menstrual cup, because there would be patients coming in to ask. So I went online and I was looking at the various blogs, YouTube channels and stuff like that. And there are fantastic videos which talk about how exactly the menstrual cup needs to be folded, the various ways to do it, in what position one should be sitting or standing or lying down, and so on and so forth. All the difficulties that you can have in the initial phases. So no, I don't think so. But again, now this would be you answering, you probably will answer better. But I don't think you need to go to your gynec for the first time when you're using it. You should be able to do it yourself. If you probably have difficulty, you can go to your gynecologist. Am I correct, Dr. Apurva?
Absolutely. I think we should quickly move to the next question as well, to kind of, have a complete version of this.
Yes. So I bought a cup, but having a lot of pain for insertion. What do I do?
So I think this kind of comes as a continuity to your previous question that way. And I absolutely agree with you that in case if you are a little tech savvy and if you are comfortable with the whole idea of how a menstrual cup works, then I don't think it should be a problem for you to kind of get used to it. And, the first time I used it, I had to call my friend, 4 or 5 times and, talk to her about how everything goes on and so forth. But yes, in case if you are a little hesitant and if you are uncomfortable, and as in this situation, in case if you are experiencing pain, then probably you are not doing it right. Otherwise, it's a very simple procedure that needs to be done. So if you are experiencing pain, or if you of course have any difficulty in insertion, then yes, you should definitely see a gynae and help you through the process, instead of completely abandoning the idea of taking up a menstrual cup. And I have to add to this, I've had patients who've come to me, I think, I can't say patients, I've had about, I think, 2 girls who've come to me with, they've inserted their menstrual cup and they could not get it out. So they were really scared, and, they had come to me in a panic mode. And yeah, we helped them and, showed them how to kind of work around it. And now they're very comfortable. So again, as a gynecologist, do you think the shift is right from moving on to a menstrual cup?
Again, the answer remains the same. If you had asked me 3 years ago, I would have said, what we haven't heard of in the last 20, 25 years, How could suddenly something like that become so important? The traditional ways of using the sanitary pads is probably the best thing to do. But now I'm totally convinced that the menstrual cups are probably fantastic. That is probably the first line that women should try. If they have difficulty with it, or for some reason they're not happy with the menstrual cup, is when they should be trying other modalities. What is your take on that? What would you?
Yeah, so for the statement, what you said, ki that for 10 years, when if you've not required to do it, why now? I have only one word for that: Zoom meetings. We've never had Zoom meetings before COVID, and now that has become the absolute norm. And I think menstrual cups are like that. I sincerely want to urge all women that now when you are when your girls start having their menstruation for the first time, please get into the habit of using a menstrual cup. Probably that is going to be the best way to move forward. There are many reasons, and it is insane. It's not just the eco-friendly manner or the environmental factors per se. Of course, that also matter. But along with that, there have been many studies which are coming up that the VOC, that is the volatile organic components that are coming from the menstrual pads that we are using, can cause multiple health-related conditions, including long-term development of diabetes, thyroid, and other hormonal-related abnormalities, because the genital regions are extremely have the capacity to absorb, and they've said that these stuff are there even in the diapers. So it is very important that we realize this factor. Probably diapers, maybe we can't really avoid it for the first couple of years, but this you definitely have an alternative and you should consider doing that.
Right. So Apurva, there would be various sizes of the menstrual cup. How does a woman understand? Yes. Is there any measurement, or how does one decide what size suits her?
See, obviously, this is not something that we'll be able to really measure and say that, okay, this is a small and medium and, not an extra large kind of thing. But yes, it's in a general manner, like someone who's not had sexual intercourse, or young girls usually require a smaller cup, that is a small cup. And women who've already had childbirth, who are tall and well built, probably require a medium to large kind of cups. Yes, this is a major trial and error formula that we use, and there are only 4 sizes that we have. So it shouldn't be so much of a problem. But yes, 2 things that we can understand is, if you are using a larger cup, you have higher chances of having pain and discomfort. So which means that you should probably come down to 1 cup size lower. And if you have any leaks when you are using your menstrual cup, then that means that you are probably using a larger cup and then should come back to using a smaller cup. So that probably, based on how comfortable you are with the cups, maybe gives you a much better sense of understanding.
Right. Which is why, the advice has been in a lot of places that in the beginning, when you're trying different sizes, use a panty liner so that you probably don't, stain yourself. I will ask you the next question itself, that what brands do you recommend of the menstrual cups?
Okay, so there are multiple brands that are available, and you can check online that there are a wide variety of brands. The only difference between a lot of brands is certain do not have a hook or a loop to kind of hold the menstrual cup, and some have a smoother bottom. Beyond that, I think a couple of brands that really come off my head is, I think, PSafe. PSafe have multiple menstrual hygiene products that they are putting out, and wonderfully all of them are organic and very safe for women overall for their menstrual hygiene. So yes, I think that is one brand I would definitely ask you to look out for. So I think both of us are fertility specialists, and I think it is tricky for us not to take this question. So if someone is actually trying to get pregnant, is it safe to use a menstrual cup?
Absolutely. There is no problem in using the menstrual cup at all. And the very fact that it does not provide contraception goes in its favor as well, that one can easily get pregnant and it does not increase infection. It does not cause any other problem in the vagina or into the uterus, wherein future fertility could be affected. So definitely, if one is using the menstrual cup, there is no harm in using it when they're trying to get pregnant. So one scare which is there, and in fact, one of my patients did come up with this question that I'm inserting something into the vagina. What if it gets displayed in the deeper parts of the body and it goes off somewhere and I can't retrieve it? What happens then? Is that possible?
So I think the concept or the idea for this comes from the fact that people have had
Hi, Dr.
misplaced
Sudakshit. Thank you for
properties.
joining in.
Hi, Sudakshit. So I think the concept for this comes into the fact that there have been incidences of misplaced property. So that is one concern people have, and of course they have this concept that okay, in case if baby is coming through the vaginal space, which is there inside of the tummy, in case if we place back a cup inside, what if it gets sucked into? So we actually are not placing anything into the uterine cavity. We are still having it inside the vagina. So there is a huge muscle layer, that is a pelvic floor muscle layer, which is actually preventing any ascent of structures from the vaginal region into the space. So 100%, I can say that there is no possibility of the cup getting displaced into deeper tissues. Yes, maybe you might have a little difficulty in getting the cup out by yourself, but it can be technically easily be achieved even by your partner. You know, you probably need not do this. If you have a partner that should be able to kind of get it up as well. So I think as you were saying, if we have to kind of list the advantages of menstrual cup per se, so does wearing, you know, can I go to a beach wearing a cup, or probably go for a swim wearing a cup?
Absolutely. I think that is going to be a huge difference between wearing the menstrual, the sanitary pad and wearing a cup, wherein the cup gives you the freedom to do any of that, go for a swim, go to the beach. So I think this is a huge point in favor of the menstrual cup.
Yeah, so as I said, there is a suction that is created between the cervix, so the blood is not going to spill out. So you can definitely go for a swim, go to the beach, and even probably wear your bikini without being concerned of the fact that there's something that's going to show up.
Right. Lastly, Apurva, where can one get the menstrual cup? Where is it available? Is it very easily available in the pharmacies?
That's a very, very important question, because I think none of the pharmacies nowadays have menstrual cups. Probably only very few pharmacies do have menstrual cups. Fortunately, it is very easily available online, very, very easily available online. You can pick it up on Amazon. You can just go to PSafe website, or probably even if you look out on Insta also, you will be able to kind of see multiple brands that are there, and pick it up online. My recommendation would be to really pick it up online instead of going out right now from medical shop to medical shop without knowing if they actually have the cup or not.
Right. We'll now go on to some of our live questions.
Shouldn't we try inserting the cups without having periods, as that we can get used to it? That's, I think, a very good suggestion, Richa. You could definitely do that if it kind of makes you feel more comfortable. I've known patients who've used even lubricant to kind of make sure that the rims are much more smoother, and they don't have too much of irritation per se. So if you are using your menstrual cup when you're not having your periods, there is a possibility that the vaginal dryness can make it a little more complicated. So use a lubricant, any gel to kind of use it.
Roop Malik
I will give you that. Yeah, what causes endometriosis and how to treat it?
Okay, so endometriosis, normally what happens is when periods happen, the lining of the womb comes out in the form of the periods that you see. Sometimes in some women, this lining of the womb starts to travel back, goes through the fallopian tube and starts to fall inside your tummy and starts to grow there. This, of course, is only one of the theories. There are multiple ones, and we honestly don't exactly know why endometriosis happens. Bizarre as it may seem, there are women who, kind of have tears of blood when they have periods. So that's how bizarre sometimes it can be. Treatment, it's very difficult. It's if in one word I can tell you, it's non-treatable. You can't have endometriosis going away ever. It's a progressive disease. Even while you wait for treatment, maybe the disease continues to grow. Now, how we treat depends on various factors. Is the woman coming for fertility, or is the woman coming for other problems of endometriosis like painful periods, painful intercourse, and so on and so forth? It'll probably take us, between us, a couple of hours to talk about the entire thing. But
we will have a session on that.
Yes, there are fantastic ways to control endometriosis, fantastic ways, but only to control endometriosis, but not to completely take it away. Probably menopause and pregnancy are the only two conditions where endometriosis really goes down fantastically well. So Apurva, and although not related to our current this thing, how do we calculate ovulation day if the period cycle is not reevaluation and keeps varying? So if someone has irregular periods, how do you look at ovulation is, I think, what she wants to ask.
The simple answer is you can't. If you're not having your regular periods, there is no which way you can use any of the apps to really calculate it. The other forms which you can use is your LH kits. Your basal body temperature is not going to be very effective in this manner. Neither is your cervical mucus. LH kits, I feel, are going to become very expensive at this point because you have to technically start using the kit from the 10th or 11th day of your period and then kind of continue using it for a very long time, not knowing. And, sometimes you might, if you are having a 60-day period, then you might actually be ovulating on the 45th day kind of thing. So you really can't be using your LH kits right from the 10th day to, your 40th day. So the easiest thing for that to do is probably get a follicular scan done to see and understand if you're ovulating properly or not. And in case if you're not ovulating, probably taking certain multivitamins in order to make sure that your ovulation happens at least in a range of 10 days should help you or be more beneficial for you if you're planning for pregnancy. Anything you want to add, Dr. Rajiv?
No, I think we are good. We have a lot of questions waiting, so probably we'll have to start moving a little faster.
Sure. So I'm suffering from pain on the right side of the abdomen and cervix area since last 3 years. This pain remains. Any probable cause?
I think this is a very generic question. It's very difficult to answer something like that. We need to understand if you've had previous surgeries or not, or what other associated problems there are.
I think to kind of start off, go ahead.
Quickly, if I were to talk about, it could be as simple as a urine infection, which you could have. It could be painful periods because of endometriosis. We would start with, an examination, a physical examination of you, by which we can try and localize where exactly the pain is, which gives us some sort of an idea as to what could be the reason for the pain. We need to do certain ultrasounds and certain blood tests for you. They also give us an idea as to what kind of pain or what is the reason for the pain.
I think for them to start off with, they can simply get an ultrasound done to see in case if there is any major concern per se. And from there, probably we will be able to move forward.
Right. So hi doc, after how many months of post-pregnancy can I start using my menstrual cup again?
Right from the cycle, when you have your first period, you should be able to use your menstrual cup. It takes exactly 6 weeks for the uterus to kind of come back from a pre-pregnancy, from a pregnancy state to a pre-pregnancy state. So, and most of the times, the period starts off maybe 2 months or 3 months after the delivery. And in case if you're feeding well, maybe it can take up to 6-7 months also. But right from the first period that you have after delivery, it is absolutely fine to go ahead and start using menstrual cup. And menstrual cup is not going to affect breastfeeding or any other activities that is involved during a postpartum period. So is period pain normal, and what are the solutions for it?
We would just need to tell them, again, we would just need to reiterate, it is not a contraceptive. You will have to use other forms of contraception. Don't think just by using the menstrual cup that you will avoid getting pregnant as well. Apurva, you were saying.
So I think we have another question. Is period pain normal, and what are the solutions for it?
Well, we've already spoken about period pain when it is not normal. Just to quickly say, any period pain which is debilitating your day-to-day work, you're not being able to get out and do your work, school, etc., is not normal. Speak to your gynecologist about it. Unless we know the reason for the pain, we will not be able to tell you the exact solution for it. But if I were to give you a just simple solution, there are certain medications like a combination of tranexamic acid and mefenamic acid. You don't have to remember the names. You can speak to your gynec about it. These combinations are very good to be taken month on month during your periods, and the pain will come down. So if you don't want to take medicines regularly and these medicines help, you can take them on a regular basis. On the other hand, oral contraceptive pills, people think negatively about them, but one of the fantastic benefits of oral contraceptive pills are that they almost completely negate the period pain. The period pain will come down considerably. So that is another thing you could consider, but don't treat yourself. You'll have to go to a gynecologist, and only a gynecologist will be able to tell you what is the right way to go ahead.
I think Shubhu Valka has asked a nice question, that is it normal to miss a period? Not regularly, but once in a blue moon. I think once in a blue moon works. It is all right. You have about 12 months in a year, and to kind of miss the period, maybe once or twice in the entire year is absolutely normal. Sometimes when you are a lot of stressed, or you've had altered activities, or have had variation in your lifestyle, it is normal to kind of have that sort of thing. So it is okay to have one missed period, and you probably need not rush into meeting us. Yes, Rajiv.
Exactly. Sort of a lot of these patients come down with not just delayed periods, early periods. Sometimes in one particular cycle, they've had a short cycle, or they've bled in between two periods, and they get all panicky and come. And I always tell them that everyone is allowed to make a mistake. The human body is a fantastic machine, but that does not mean the human body can't make a mistake. One mistake or two mistakes sometimes should be allowable. If one continues to make a mistake again and again, that is when you probably need to get into it.
You are talking from a very, very male perspective on this point. But yeah, I think I have to concur on this fact that, one mistake is agreeable. So we have Payal asking us, very less blood flow during the periods. What is the reason? How can it be cured? So how less is less? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So Payal, I think it is to each his own. Everyone's body is a certain type, and you probably do need to go to a gynecologist to understand whether it is right or wrong. But if a young woman, let's put it this way, the reason for less blood flow, if we say it is not right, is because of either less egg quality or poor egg quality, or in our country, it could be also because of tuberculosis or some other problems inside the uterus. Like, for example, the two walls of the uterus being stuck together. So these three would be probably the most major reasons. Now, you've gone to a gynecologist. The gynecologist has done some certain basic tests and said, you seem to be all right. You're a young woman. Your egg quality is all right. There's no signs of tuberculosis. You don't need to worry. What is right for you may not be right for someone else. What is right for someone else may not be right for you. Having said that, it is important for you to go to a gynaec, because sometimes, as we have spoken before also, shortening of cycles and lesser flow could be a sign that your egg quality is going down, your egg numbers are going down, and only a doctor would be able to find that out for you. Apurva, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, definitely, Rajiv. I think what we need to insist on is how less is less, because sometimes we work on a comparison basis. In case if we have our, friends or siblings or mother who's had about 6 or 7 days of flow, and in case if we are experiencing only about 3 or 4 days of flow, then we inadvertently start thinking that, we are having less flow. And it is not like that. And, we somewhere start feeling that this blood is getting accumulated inside the body, and, it is not coming out kind of thing. But that's not true. Only in case if you are having bleeding less than 2 days, and if the number of pads that you've changed is less than 2 per day, that is when we actually consider it as, as a scanty flow or less period. But in case if you're bleeding at least about 3 to 4 pads in a month, that is reasonably all right, and you don't need to really panic about that. Can women with PCOS conceive naturally? First of all, it's PCOS and it is not PCOD.
Yes.
Okay. It is not a disease anymore, and it is just a group of symptoms that are there. And if we say to conceive naturally, PCOS, as I said, is a group of symptoms, and it can happen in the form of either simple acne, you can have irregular periods, you can have hair fall, and sometimes you might not have any of these features, have just unwanted hair growth and an ultrasound which is depicting that. What is most important to conceive is that you ovulate regularly. There have been instances where women with PCOS also are ovulating on a couple of months, or occasionally, maybe about, like how we said that it is okay to have 2 missed periods in a year. For PCO women it becomes the other way around, and they probably ovulate twice in a year, and about 10 months they don't ovulate. So in these 2 months that they have actually ovulated, they have a fair enough chance of conceiving naturally, provided all the other parameters are also all right. So when does the cycle get back in order after delivery, Rajiv?
Usually, it depends on the lactation that the woman is undertaking. So, women who exclusively breastfeed may not have resumption of their periods for 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, or sometimes even 9 months and more. One does not need to worry just because you're not getting back your periods, as long as you have been practicing contraception and you're absolutely sure that you're not getting you haven't gotten pregnant. Beyond that, you don't need to worry. Those women who probably are not exclusively breastfeeding most likely resume their periods by about 6 weeks after their delivery. We've got still a whole lot of questions.
I think we will have to take only a couple of them, because we just have another 10 more minutes before the session goes down. We can definitely split between us and put it on our story so that they can go ahead and take it. But yeah, I think another 4 more questions quickly.
Right.
My mother is 40 years old. Since last 2 months, she's experiencing heavy bleeding and lasts for about 8 to 10 days. You should definitely get an ultrasound done for mom to see what it is. There can be 2 possibilities. One, as Dr. Rajiv has said, there can be a perimenopausal transition that is happening, or she might be having some polyp or fibroid which is kind of resulting in the bleeding. Either which ways, this bleeding has to be tackled. Otherwise, she's going to become more and more weak and result in other issues. Right. I think the question here is, I've been spotting in between my cycles.
Yes.
Yes.
So
go
this
ahead,
is what
take
is
it,
called any bleeding in between the 2 definitive period cycles. Say, for example, your periods have come on the 1st of a month, and between the 1st of the next month, somewhere in between, if you start spotting, we call it intermenstrual bleeding. The reason for intermenstrual bleeding are 2 very common problems. One is a polyp, that is a grape-like structure being present inside the womb. Both of us have had plenty of patients who come complaining, saying that if I exercise, if I have intercourse, even if I brisk walk, I start spotting. Or it can be because of endometriosis that we've spoken before, but polyps are the most common reason. A simple telescope being put through the vagina into the womb will be able to diagnose that polyp and treat the polyp. And the results are absolutely dramatic. A woman who was absolutely stuck at home, not being able to exercise, is able to do everything once the polyps are removed, and it's just a 5-minute procedure. Does weight loss lead to less period flow or period loss?
Yes. In case if there has been sudden and drastic weight loss, that can result in hormonal variation, and yes, you can have scantier flow as compared to what you had before, and sometimes even have, you might skip a period as well, which is why we don't really recommend drastic weight loss. Someone has asked another question, can we get rid of post-pregnancy belly? Jonah, thank you for asking this. Yes, you can definitely get rid of it. But yes, it has to be under trained guidance, and you have to put in exercise, and there is really no simple route around it. Exercise is the only way.
Right. Someone has asked, saying, I never faced period pain as such, and post-delivery, it's completely subsided. However, I experience Mittelschmerz and the pain is very sharp for 24 hours, anything to worry. So for people who don't know what is Mittelschmerz, it is the ovulation pain which happens around the 14th, 15th day of the cycle. It signifies that ovulation has happened. The answer to this is the body changes through years, before delivery, after delivery. As one ages, a lot of changes are going to happen in the body. And each time you have to understand that what is happening with you is probably normal. So you were probably suffering from period pain earlier, but now probably it's completely gone. Having this kind of a pain is absolutely fine. You do not need to worry about it at all, as long as it is not debilitating you, as long as it is not affecting your day-to-day work. I've had patients who come back with such severe pain around ovulation that we've actually had to put them on oral contraceptive pills to completely do away with their ovulation. Okay.
Amrita has asked me, ma'am, I'm from Hyderabad. How can I have a consultation with you? You can check out my profile. We have a number for online consultation. Both myself and Dr. Rajiv, we do online video consultation, and we will be more than happy to do that for you.
What could be the reasons typically if one of the cycles the bleeding is much lesser than usual? So one of the cycles the bleeding is much lesser than usual. Could there be an underlying problem? Apurva.
As we've said, do galtiyon ki maaf hai. So I think it is all right. In case if you've had only one period wherein the bleeding is less, I think you should be happy about it, and change one lesser pad or change the cup less number of times. So is depression right before and after a cycle a myth or a real issue? How to counter it? Do you want to take this question, Rajiv?
So I can only speak as a gynecologist, but yes, there are.
It is actually symptoms. You people who have put us in this spot wherein all the men have thrown all the tantrums of women for their PMS and said that, okay, if someone has kind of said something or done something, you've just blamed us, and that's the reason why people even ask this question. Go ahead.
I know there's the jokes which go around that, okay, she's PMSing. But yes, there are a myriad of symptoms which women undergo or have just before their periods, ranging from fever to depression to UTI and a host of other symptoms. We are going to be taking this up in a special program between Dr. Apurva and myself, because PMS deserves every time we can give. But to answer your question straightforward, is depression right before and after a cycle a myth or a real issue? It's an absolutely real issue. And how to counter it? The answer can't be that straightforward. It has to be from exercise, from identifying the problems, identifying the trigger factors that probably cause you depression, from lack of sleep, alcohol, cigarette smoking, or maybe chocolates and stuff like that. You have to go to a gynecologist, look at some vitamins and stuff for you. Maybe that can help. But we take it in phases. We start from solution 1 to solution 2, going up to solution 10.
I have a better answer for this, Rajiv. I have a better answer for this.
I don't think I want to hear, but please go on.
Every cycle, 5 days prior to the period, I want to prescribe to all the husbands and all the boyfriends, and probably parents, get one box of dark chocolate for your girlfriends or wives or whoever, and give them 1 rose a day. I can assure you PMS will actually become a myth. So yes, I think it is more of that. You have to give a lot of TLC, tender love and care, during that time, and people have to be supportive that they are losing so much amount of blood, and so much of hormonal changes are happening during that time. We have 4 more minutes to go.
Same line of getting nausea during periods being normal. It is normal. What do you want to do, Apurva? Do you want to come back and do another session, or we post it online?
I think we can do that. We can take about 2 more questions quickly, and I think the remaining questions we can definitely share between us and put them on our post.
Okay. So nausea is again absolutely normal. This is something which has come up. If you could quickly answer while I look.
Is it okay to have a 2-day period with negligible flow, or should as I said, 2-day period is absolutely all right. And in case if you're changing at least 4 pads in a day, it's okay. I recently recovered from COVID. Can that delay my cycle? Okay, that's a very good question, Shubha.
We've had, I think,
You want to take
more
it?
than, I don't think COVID is really going to cause any problem with your cycles, but the stress of what you've gone through might delay your cycles, might cause some irregularity. You just need to bear with that and go ahead. But no, there is no long-term damage which is going to happen to your period cycle or to your hormones because of COVID. At least that's as far as we know right now. We'll have to
2 more.
close the
We have
session
5
soon.
minutes.
2 more.
Yes. Not having period flow more than a
Same.
day or less. It's yep.
Same.
I'm
Apurva,
having
go on with the
acne
question.
around my chin area and ulcers inside my lower lip and having heavy hair fall. I have little urine infection. What should I do? Okay, Richa, these are multiple parameters that are there and I think multiple concerns. The ulcers inside the tongue or lip can kind of represent vitamin B deficiency, and the acne and unwanted hair could probably be symptoms of PCOS and mild UTI. All of them should deal independently. Please go and see Dr. Rajiv. I think that's going to solve a lot of your problems. I do not get periods on time. Now I have a baby and she's 1.5 years old and the issue persists. It is not mandatory that your PCOS or any other hormonal abnormality that you've had should get settled just because you've had a baby. For some, it does. And in case if it doesn't, then I guess we should continue to handle it in the same way how you've handled it pre-pregnancy. Next question is yours.
Someone has asked a question. I'm 20 years old and the last time I got my periods was in December with medicines, contraceptive pills, after which I had to stop and I was sent to a therapist. 2 days ago, out of nowhere, I got them. Is it all right? So obviously you've gotten your periods after a couple of months, which is not good. After 6 to 7 months, this is probably PCO, but we have to evaluate. We have to look at thyroid and prolactin. Please see your doctor. If you're on the heavier side, get into a gym, start exercising. You'll probably start having your regular periods. I think we should close this session.
Yes.
Thank you to both of us, because I can't thank you. We're both in this together. But I think this I loved doing what we did for the last 1 hour, and we have to come back and do this again and again because there are thousands of other issues which we need to discuss.
Absolutely. I think I've had an amazing time myself, and next time you're not going to harass me as much as you have done for the first time, and we're going to have a much better time. But yes, I think having the whole idea why we've even started this is to kind of give more authentic information and, you know, shoot it off between two professionals. And if it helps our clients, then nothing like it. So yes, guys, follow Dr. Rajiv Agarwal for more.
Right.
And we will see you soon in another session.
Bye.
Bye.